What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Cosmic Wonder, where we talk all things Marvel. And right now, Marvel Studios, they're making some really big moves. As we go into Captain America Brave New World, we're starting to see more promotion from Marvel Studios, but not just about Brave New World. They're really starting to mention a lot of future projects and a lot of interviews that cast members have been doing. For example, we just got the news from Benedict Cumberbatch himself that he is not going to be in Avengers Doomsday. This is planned by Marvel Studios. They probably had him mention in that interview that he's not showing up for Doomsday. And we're getting more information about these projects now because besides the projects that have already been filmed and decided on prior to the announcement at San Diego Comic-Con that Robert Downey Jr. was returning to play Doom and the Russo Brothers were returning. So basically, with the exception of movies like Captain America Brave New World, the Thunderbolts, projects like the Ironheart series, Marvel has decided which path they would like to move forward with in the MCU with all of the new movies and shows. And now Marvel Studios is kind of showing their hand a little bit as what they want from the future of the MCU. And that seems to be putting their faith in the Russo Brothers, which is not a bad move if you consider the track record of the Russo Brothers with Marvel Studios. It's amazing. Captain America the Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, and Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. Amazing track record. And now they've been brought back to direct Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, but that's not all. According to recent reports, Marvel Studios is going to keep the Russo Brothers on to handle the next saga of the MCU, which we know is going to be heavily focused on the mutants and X-Men. And Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, has already confirmed this. He's already stated in interviews, from here on out, we're going to start to see some X-Men show up in the Multiverse Saga in upcoming movies. And then after, that's what he calls the mutant era. And that is literally what he himself called it. So we know the next saga is super mutant and X-Men focused. Of course, the Avengers and the Fantastic Four and other characters are going to show up, but the main focus will be the X-Men, which means the Russo brothers are going to basically be in charge of the X-Men in the MCU. And considering that they've done such a great job so far with all projects they've been involved with in the MCU, this is a win. And honestly, I think it's actually the perfect move by Marvel Studios, and I'll explain why. Because there are actually a few very important reasons why this is the perfect move. But to start off, let's talk about the actual report. This is coming from insider Daniel RPK, who has a really good track record with his scoops. And he stated, the Russo brothers have reportedly signed a new deal with Marvel Studios to lead several projects, including the upcoming X-Men movie. So we're talking after the Multiverse Saga, of course, and we do know that the X-Men movie itself is coming after the Multiverse Saga. They've already begun to work on this. They have a writer for it already. It's Michael Leslie. He recently wrote The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which was pretty good. So the Russo brothers should be joining him. Now, what's interesting is that Daniel RPK reported before that the Russo brothers were returning to direct the next two Avengers films. Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, acted coy when he was asked about it in interviews because he wasn't about to confirm that the rumor was true before going into San Diego Comic-Con to announce it. He basically said, yeah, there's rumors every week. Who's it going to be next week? So we might in the future, maybe next year's San Diego Comic-Con, get this announcement. But this new deal is, of course, on top of Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars because they've already signed that deal. They've already made the contract for that, signed it, it's done. They announced it at Comic-Con, and now we're moving into new stuff. And again, I believe this is a perfect decision, and it's perfect for a few different reasons. And one is pretty simple. We've already talked about it. It's that the Russo brothers have an amazing track record when it comes to MCU projects. The studio has faith in them, the fans have faith in them, and that's really all there is to that. The second and third reason are kind of connected to each other, but the second reason is that the Russo brothers are going to end the Multiverse Saga and then take us into the next saga. And if you really think about this, it makes a lot of sense. The Russo brothers are basically in charge of how the rest of the Multiverse Saga is going to go. Now, that's not counting Captain America Brave New World, the Thunderbolts, and the Fantastic Four, because those were already pretty much complete, the story decided upon before the Russo brothers came into the picture. But now now after it's already been proven that the entire story of the Multiverse Saga has been affected by the Russo Brothers coming on board. This is what Benedict Cumberbatch said in his recent interview when he revealed that Doctor Strange is not going to be in Avengers Doomsday because his character arc right now in the MCU does not align with the story that the Russo Brothers are going to tell in Doomsday. So that means whatever happens in Avengers Doomsday and whatever they have planned for Avengers Secret Wars, that story affects all other projects in between. But also, because the MCU is supposedly going to be doing a soft reboot after Avengers Secret Wars, how it ends and how the next phase starts is pretty important, which brings us into reason 3 why this is perfect. And that reason is the next phase, the next saga has to start off strong because phase 4 kind of had a problem with that. Now, don't get me wrong, it started off strong with WandaVision and Loki, but they had some misses like with Black Widow, the Eternals, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I'm not saying these are bad, but the general consensus was these were misses to the public eye. And a lot of people said that there was a lack of connectivity in phase 4 and it didn't really seem like the MCU. So these are problems that Marvel Studios has to address going into the next saga. When they started off, it has to still feel like the MCU. And there needs to be a clear, solid plan. I think that might have been one of the issues for phase 4 starting in the MCU. They didn't have a super clear plan, and that's widely because Disney Plus was a very new thing for them. And we heard their plan change a lot. It started off as they were going to do 4 movies a year and 6 Disney Plus shows a year as well. So we were getting like 10 different projects a year from Marvel Studios. That is a lot. It's a lot to make, but it's also a lot to digest. And if the stories aren't super solid and you get miss after miss, then it's really hard to stay invested. And they changed their plan a lot when it came to Disney Plus and how many movies they were going to do and shows. Also throwing in the big bad, not teasing him too much in connection to other things, but actually throwing him in projects like Loki, and then the bad decision, in my opinion, to have him be defeated by Ant-Man in Quantumania. Like, this is your new big bad who's supposed to be a huge threat, not to just the universe, but to the entire multiverse, and you have Ant-Man defeat him. Bad move. So if you get all of that locked down before you go into the next saga, before you start making these projects, there is a lot higher chance of success. So having a clear plan is key. And that plan basically comes down to, how do you want to introduce the X-Men? How does the universe now work after the Multiverse Saga? Which again, the Russo Brothers are ending that story, so they should be able to connect the new story to the end pretty well. Probably better than anybody. And that will ensure the next phase and the next saga start off pretty well. But it's not just enough to have a great start. You have to keep that going because, again, we saw a pretty decent start with Loki and WandaVision in the MCU, but some projects that followed up with it weren't that good. And the same thing goes for phase 5. Some of the projects weren't that good. But if the Russo Brothers are coming on and they are overseeing a lot of what is going to happen in the next couple of phases, and they can oversee the entire story and the continuity of what the overall story of the MCU is going to be for the next 5 years, then that's just another win. So it seems like we do have everything in place here for the ending of this saga to be fantastic, for the beginning of the next saga to be fantastic, and for the next saga overall to just be great. Everything is set up for it to be great. We have trust in the Russo Brothers. They have a proven track record. They're ending the next saga and starting the next saga. And they will most likely have a plan of how they want everything to connect. The X-Men, the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, solo stories of mutants coming together to form our first X-Men team in the MCU, and the villains coming as well. It's all there. From here on out, Marvel Studios should be just amazing. All they have to really do is execute the Russo Brothers and Kevin Feige's plans, and they're good to go. So I am super pumped and now super confident in the future of the MCU, but go ahead, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Does this make you feel more secure about the MCU's future, and does it get you excited? Let us know down below. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest MCU news, rumors, or leaks. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.